This is a sample of the information provided as part of the flexible training resources available through hasup.com. Our training courses are designed to provide training participants with an understanding of food safety and quality system elements and also offer user-friendly assessment activities and competency checklists to complete the training cycle. Training participants will gain a basic understanding of training, competency and resources requirements and its applications within food safety and quality systems. Basic knowledge competency will be verified through successful completion of the accompanying training, competency and resources requirements assessment activity. Basic skill competency can be verified through the training, competency and resources requirements competency checklist available as a resource for this training activity. Key definitions for training, competency and resources requirements. Competency. Competency is the collection of skills, knowledge and attributes to perform, usually described in terms of observable and measurable behaviors. The measurement parameters of competency are often expressed as an individual's ability to objectively apply their skills, knowledge and attributes expected as elements of their position within a food business. Knowledge. Knowledge is a familiarity with facts, truths and principles which is sufficient and appropriate for the production of safe and suitable foods. Resources. Assets available and anticipated for operations, including people, time, skills, knowledge, technology, data, money, equipment, facilities, and other assets used to plan, implement, and evaluate food safety and quality and operational systems. Skills. A skill is the ability to actively and sufficiently participate in tasks that ultimately result in safe and suitable foods being produced. Training. The term training refers to the acquisition of knowledge, skills, and competencies as a result of the teaching of vocational or practical skills and knowledge that relate to specific useful competencies. Training, competency and resources requirements development. When considering the development, documentation and implementation of training, competency and resources requirements within food safety and quality management systems, the following information should be considered to ensure effective outcomes. About training, competency and resources requirements. Training methods. Induction training. Management responsibility. Training assistance. About training, competency and resources requirements. Procedures and schedules for training, competency and resources requirements must be developed, documented and implemented to ensure personnel, visitors and contractors have the skills and knowledge necessary to maintain required food safety, food quality and regulatory standards. Training, competency and resources requirements must be reviewed and verified on an ongoing basis to ensure ongoing positive outcomes. Personnel engaged in food operations that come directly or indirectly into contact with food should be trained and or instructed in food hygiene to a level appropriate to the operations they are to perform. Training is fundamentally important to any food hygiene system. Inadequate hygiene training and or instruction and supervision of all people involved in food-related activities pose a potential threat to the safety of food and its suitability for consumption. All personnel should be aware of their role and responsibility in protecting food from contamination or deterioration. Food handlers should have the necessary knowledge and skills to enable them to handle food hygienically. Those who handle strong cleaning chemicals or other potentially hazardous chemicals should be instructed in safe handling techniques. The nomination of training as a component of a food safety program is to assess the skills and knowledge of participating personnel roles in food safety activities. It is not generally the intention of this inclusion to require mandatory training, as it is generally recognized that skills and knowledge may be gained in different ways. Depending on the location and type of business activities, you may be required to display details of officially recognized training pertaining to specified roles within the food safety program. Persons managing or participating in food handling and/or processing operations must possess skills and knowledge in relation to the scope of their workplace activities. The skill and knowledge requirements for each staff member should correspond directly with the scope of work activities. The skills and knowledge required by a chef are different to those required by a cleaner. Skill and knowledge-based training may be considered in numerous forms, and it must involve food hygiene as well as general food safety concepts. Food handlers involved in any stage of food production should receive sufficient training in the hygienic food handling practices and in personal hygiene. Some of the most successful approaches to obtaining task-related skill and knowledge include workplace training facilitated with your business practices in example. Dissemination of relevant documentation and information to key personnel. Using standard operating procedures that outline the scope and purpose of personnel roles in the food safety program. Attendance of food safety courses conducted by food safety professionals, industry associations or government bodies. Utilizing a qualified and experienced food safety consultant to recommend inclusions to the skill and knowledge base of your employees. Food safety training under a recognized framework facilitated by a registered training organization or regulatory body. And competency review of food handling skills and knowledge. It is the responsibility of management to ensure that all employees are fully aware of food safety and food hygiene practices that are important to their job in the food business. Training methods. There are various methods for training employees. As a minimum, all staff employed by a food manufacturer should receive induction training and job-specific training. Outcomes of job-specific training should also include competency verification to ensure appropriate outcomes. Following a training activity, monitoring the performance of employees will assist in determining the effectiveness of the training outcomes, including the identification of where additional emphasis is needed. Observing an employee conducting their tasks is crucial for ensuring that the employee has an understanding and is putting into practice proper food safety and sanitation methods. Initial training of employees may be done in groups or one-on-one. Group training requires more organization and formal presentation, but it is generally an effective method of getting information to employees who have not been previously trained in the requirements of your food business operation. One-on-one training is effective for an employee who is replacing another. Its primary value is that food safety and sanitation information can be tailored to the type of work the employee will be doing. For example, a cleaning and sanitation staff member who does not handle food does not necessarily need to be trained in temperature control of food. Training in personal hygiene and cleaning and sanitation procedures may be sufficient for this. Food safety supervisor training programs are available to help supervisors become knowledgeable about food safety concepts. A supervisor cannot train, recognize or monitor food safety within the food establishment unless he or she has knowledge about such concepts. Induction training. All staff involved with the handling of food must be trained to recognize and practice good manufacturing practices and safe working procedures at all times. It is generally considered best practice to ensure all new employees complete relevant induction training before actually starting within their new position. As a base-level requirement, food and personal hygiene training should be addressed for all relevant staff during the induction process. Supervisory staff may be required to undertake specific and more comprehensive food safety training in the related areas. Induction training commonly includes the following subjects: company induction, food hygiene and handling, storage, handling and refrigeration, food poisoning and foodborne illness including cause and effect examples, food processing procedures, food preservation methods, training, competency and resources requirements, quality policy, critical control point monitoring and completion of records, personal hygiene, basic HACCP, GMP, food security management, other industry sector-specific requirements. It is also important to consider that visitors and contractors may also require induction training commensurate with their interactions within any food business. Food business policies should define what induction, GMP and personal hygiene training are required for non-staff members entering the premises. Job descriptions. Job descriptions are a useful tool, not only in formalizing a role for a staff member both for their information and for company reference, but also serve the purpose as a training checklist that the trainer may use to ensure that the employee has been given specific training for all parts of the role. Training matrix and training records. A record of training should be kept for every employee that undergoes training no matter how short the employment term. Each record should detail the type of training given, the date, and a brief outline of content and signatures of both the trainer and the trainee. Copies of any relevant formal training an employee has undergone externally should also be kept in the training record. Training records should be kept on file for the lifetime of an employee. A training matrix is a useful document to track and summarize all employees against all the different types of training that may be given. Degrees of competency may also be captured in a training matrix. Training program content. Factors to take into account in assessing the level of training required for a particular individual or group may include the nature of the food, in particular its ability to sustain growth of pathogenic or spoilage microorganisms, the manner in which the food is handled and packed, including the probability of contamination, the extent and nature of processing or further preparation before final consumption, the conditions under which the food will be stored, and the expected length of time before consumption. Management responsibility. The owner or operator of a food business should assume that training of food workers will be a continual and necessary function. Supervisors or managers must assume a primary responsibility for food safety training in a food establishment. In most cases, supervisors occupy the important position between management and the other employees. His or her role is often to train employees in their procedural tasks and provide ongoing supervision. During this procedural training, food safety training should be included. Training assistance. Adequate training will certainly contribute to a better understanding of food safety and sanitation. With this knowledge and with responsible performance, a reduced threat of foodborne disease outbreaks can be facilitated. In addition, the food establishment will undoubtedly receive better outcomes through regulatory and third-party inspections. Although each food establishment has the primary responsibility for training their employees, your local health department may be able to provide additional assistance. Did you know that HACCP.com includes resources that allow you to create, manage and implement GFSI and HACCP-based food safety and quality programs? Improve your food safety and quality skills and knowledge? Train and develop your team to create better food safety and quality outcomes? Find suppliers and service providers to partner with your business? The information and training resources available through HACCP.com included a variety of formats, such as website content, MP4, MP4 and text, MP3, PDF and slideshow. Are you ready to take the next step in your food compliance journey? Visit HACCP.com today to create your profile and access the full versions of our food safety and quality information packages and much more.